I got to play. It's a guy that we both like.
There's one that sold for 61 on April 27th. Damn, free shipping. Hell yeah, man.
It's not the obvious guys that win you your league.
Oh, I'm on the clock. Oh, no, I got auto picked.
Oh, there's one.
Oh, you missed your pick. People start going way off the board here.
That's a steal, babe.
I was clicking the button. This is all messed up now. How do we get so many auto picks? 2, 1.
Nailed it.
Welcome back to the Football Card Quest. I'm your host, Andy Case, and got my main man, Steve the eBay Hitman Caladesi. We're going to be digging into all things football cards, eBay buying, live football card analysis, and then we'll hop into a Underdog fantasy best ball draft later on in the stream. Steve, it feels like things have kind of simmered down this week after a chaotic first week of free agency last week. How you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, I mean, there's this the wheel is still in motion, but comparatively, it's kind of like going on the big boy rides at the amusement park, and then the teacups after. So a big drop off in action, though. There's still some signings going on. Nothing major. You got like the Odell Beckham type news right now. You know, not a whole lot of people getting super excited about that unless you're an Odell fan. So. But yeah, there's still stuff going on, and a lot of people are focusing on pro days and the things that come with that. But definitely some things to advise caution on, because these are literally just a glorified camera session, if you will. You know, no defenders, unlimited time to throw. It's we saw it with Malik Willis. Everyone was enamored by him and thought he was, oh man, you see these throws he can make on the run, and comparatively, you saw that with Anthony Richardson too. We've yet to see the pure ceiling that he has just yet. But you know, take it with a grain of salt that whatever these guys do in these little short sessions here is just a little bit of an illusion. It's not necessarily indicative of what they can do in a game.
Yeah, that Malik Willis pro day really stands out to me as probably one of the best that I've seen, and got people really hyped up about him. I'll tell you what I've noticed this week. It seems like a lot of people are submitting. You've got 5,000 cards of CJ Stroud added to the PSA database over the past week, and that is over twice as much compared to Anthony Richardson. So Anthony Richardson 1,997, and then Will Levis and Bryce Young behind those guys at 1,263 for Bryce and 904 for Will Levis. So 5,000 for CJ Stroud. That's pretty insane, man. Yeah,
obviously rookie of the year. Plus, he managed to stay healthy for the whole year. That's a huge part of any position, and people investing in you as well. So, will he continue on this upward trajectory? It's possible, but we did review his numbers and metrics last year, and there were some that he was actually not that good, and in fact, close to the bottom of the league. And so I think that he remains a good quarterback, but you may see some of that slight regression.
Yeah, and so tonight I want to talk about these different card tiers, and I want to talk about some tiers that I think we should target, some that I think we should avoid, and I think it's different by player, Steve. I don't think you can make a general statement and say, hey, avoid, insert card. We'll talk about a variety of them, but just for example, avoid a score rookie card, base score rookie card, because that's in the very bottom tier of card rankings, or like a classics. Avoid classics for any player, because when it comes to a guy like CJ Stroud, hey, it might be a pretty good pickup if you can find that card in a dollar bin.
Yeah, with the elite players and the the heavy buys that people are into at the moment, whether that's the Jordan Love, whether that's any of these guys that are at the peak hype cycle, you can find people buying from just about any set at a high amount. And especially when Prism and Optic and Spectra, even serial numbered cards start getting into the hundreds of dollars, people will go down the chain and start looking at other sets for values. And you can actually use that to your advantage and find sets that are disproportionately priced lower than some other sets. Because if you have a good enough player, with Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, yada, 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 you're going to find inconsistencies from set to set, and you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah, for example, here I pulled up because right now, still 2023 rookies are the hottest sellers in the market by far. You have a couple guys like Justin Fields surprisingly has maintained his volume pretty high throughout the past week, and I think that's kind of indicative of his youth and draft capital, new team, and also that his prices were very low. As Steve and I looked at the rookie ticket autos, we couldn't believe that they had got down to under $100 and right at $100 in some auctions, and now they're back up to about 200. But we know compared to Trevor Lawrence, it's still quite a bit lower. And with 2021, that year in of itself is special. I do think there's several sets and tiers from 2021 you got to avoid, especially for skill position players. We'll talk about that, but overall, 2023 is still selling tremendously well in CJ, Will Levis, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. Those are all the top sellers right now, day in, day out. Now, it is lower by about 25% this week. The daily numbers are about 25% lower this week than they were last week. So I wanted to pull up the comparison between the 4 quarterbacks that are heading to their second year and look at some of this early grading results. We're getting a lot of grading results right now, Steven. Some people look at this and be like, over the past 6 months, you see the score, CJ Stroud PSA 10 is actually down almost 42%. That's probably because of the new set, the Prism. That's probably because of Prism, sure. Mosaic, Donruss, all those sets being released, replacing Score, which is released before the rookie season even starts. You notice here he's in a college uniform. Yeah, maybe you got a Texans logo. You've got a rookie card shield. Those things are nice, but it's not a chrome card. There's no shiny to it, and it's in a college uniform. So if you look at that chart, look at that. I mean, even back January, but let's go back November. I mean, this was like an $80 to $100 card back during the season last year, and now it's on average just a $40 card.
Yeah, with those sets, if he ends up being a superstar in the league for years to come, obviously that card will make its way back up. But we always emphasize, especially with the first few sets that come out, especially if it's not a pro uniform, that if you do get a card like this and you do get a 10 on it, as exciting as it is to have and hold, it's typically a flip as more sets come out. Then you have that second slump, which is the off season, where people are getting more hyped about the next class of players. And then it usually is until right before the season starts. People are fantasy drafting, and camp videos and highlight reels are starting to come out from practice, hype built back up too. So this is just a natural cycle of the off season that you're seeing. And, you could do it comparatively with just about every higher end player in the off season.
And look, the raw score, just a dollar card.
Yeah.
And I think now when we look at ultra modern, I think you got to avoid these kind of cards for CJ Stroud. Now, I think it's safe to target cards from this set for CJ Stroud. If you're looking at serial numbered cards, you're looking at the foil finished scorecards. Maybe it's got maybe you find one that's got some color match, and it's also got like the little alien case hit logos around it. The little alien emojis, something like that. Now is I think safe. But if you're looking at just base paper cardstock cards like this, it's going to be very, very hard for this card, even for a guy as good as CJ Stroud, with how much hype he has, 5,000 cards submitted to PSA over the past week, for this card to ever really break out of this year. So let's paint a hypothetical picture here, Steve. You bought this card for $1. You grade it with PSA. You do have a 70% chance here. If you look at our data, 70% 8% chance of going from a raw card to a PSA 10, which is great. That's one of the best results I've seen on here in the entire app. But even if you do that, you're still looking at a $40 card. It's you're going to grind out a small profit. You can make a profit on like a bulk submission, I guess, a base score CJ Stroud cards. But you think that this score card is going to go back up for CJ Stroud in 2024 if he exceeds expectations?
It would take a lot. They'd have to be winning a lot of games, maybe winning the division, maybe going to the playoffs. Then, people will obviously gravitate, like we said at the start of the show, they'll gravitate towards the heavier sets first. The sets that most people go towards for the rookie cards, the Prism Silvers, Optic Hollows, rookie ticket autos, etc., RPAs. And then once people get priced out of that market, it keeps tapering down. And unfortunately, the rookie uniform cards, at least these types of rookie uniform cards. Now, if you had like a National Treasures RPA with a serial number in a college uniform, that's still going to fetch a nice profit for you, right? It's going to fetch a good dollar amount. But no, these aren't the big needle mover types. These are cool cards to have if you like that player or if you like the college they went to. But they don't typically move nearly as much once the pro uniform sets have come out.
Agreed. So, if you want to collect whatever you like. But if you want to take a competitive angle and you want to make profit off of these cards, or maybe you want to buy them to flip them like you would in Dynasty Fantasy Football, you buy a player, you flip them for profit to get better players for your team. It's a game, right? It's fun, and you also have there's a financial aspect of a reward in there as well. And a lot of us are competitive, so it's it's this fun strategy game. And maybe you want to, turn this into a way that you can fuel or fund your personal collection, so you can add nicer cards to your collection through flipping cards. I would, Steve, I'm going to say, especially when it comes to skill position players, this is a tier right here of cards. It's going to be score. It's going to be classics. Sets like this. Let's just classify college uniform cards, even if it's from the Chronicles draft picks, Prism draft picks, stuff like that don't have serial numbers. I would recommend you avoid those cards. It's going to be very hard for those cards to break out in value when the player does get hyped up. Let's say you're buying into a player that's not hyped up, and you want them when you want to buy in low, so when they do get hyped up, you make money. Well, if you're buying to this tier card, it's going to be really hard for you to sell your card when that player gets hyped up.
Yeah, and I think there's only like a handful of exceptions to the rule, and that's a different conversation when you talk about like Patrick Mahomes' score, which wasn't a college uniform. But talk about A, it's Patrick Mahomes, and B, they didn't print nearly as many cards that year as they did right now. So two different conversations. But at the same time, if you ask a Patrick Mahomes buyer or collector which they would prefer, a pro or college uniform, I think it's pretty unanimous.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is a totally different story. When we talk about Mahomes, all of a sudden we everything's on the table, right? I mean, everything's on the table.
Right. His graded cards, his rookie cards, are so expensive that people will buy the college uniform card, and they spend, look at that, $150 in some cases.
Yeah, this card right here, this base Panini. I mean, that's equivalent to. I mean, he's in a pro uniform, so not complete score, but yeah, classics. I mean, just base Panini.
Look at the second entry. Look at the fourth entry on the second line. I mean, those prices are wicked, dude, for a base college uniform.
Yeah, so I mean, Tom Brady's in a similar situation. It's only 135 different rookie cards. That's a big factor. How many different rookie cards do they have, and how much hype have they accumulated over the years? You know, when you start getting into multiple Super Bowl rings, you're the face of the NFL, and you can go to, like, you know, somebody that lives in the middle of the desert in Africa, and they know who Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady is. Well, and I mean, you know, everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. Veteran cards, second, third, fourth year cards, even like a 2023 Prism, Orange Laser, Patrick Mahomes is still going to get you a $20 bill, I imagine still, whereas there's a lot of skill position players, rookie cards that you're not going to get that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's his tier for the hobby is in its own. Maybe Brady is close, but outside of those two guys, there's not even any comparison.
So it's almost like, because now I'm looking at the mosaic data from all the rookie quarterbacks that are heading into the second year. You can see all of these cards have lost value over the past 6 months. Almost all of them, except for
Richardson. He seems to be going back up.
Yeah, there's a few cards. I noticed that these mosaics are doing okay. The camo pink here for CJ Stroud's doing pretty good. The silver is doing pretty good. Yeah, you do have some that are going back up, but the ones that I noticed that have this in common, well, you can see the CJ Stroud has dipped considerably, but he's also much higher than what Anthony Richardson's at. So I got to think there's a little bit of leveling out there, because a lot of people are like, well, this guy's still entering his rookie year more or less, and we know how talented he is. And so they're looking at data similar to this. Maybe they're not members on the quest. These are obviously, when I pulled up 2023 Prism, Steve, this is going to blow your mind. When I pulled up 2023 Prism, actually 2023 Prism Silver was the exact term I typed in on eBay, and look at sold data. There have been 93,000 sold items with that classification in the past 90 days.
Wow.
Guess how many there have been for, and I don't follow the release dates of any of the basketball, baseball, hockey products, so I don't know, but guess how many of the other sports there were? Like the closest next sport that had sold items, like how many do you think they had?
Probably, I would guess basketball would be the next.
Basketball is the next closest one.
Maybe at like 20 or 30.
Yeah, it's actually, you're right, 30,000. This is why Steve's a co-host of Football Card Show here on Thursday night, because he knows his stuff, man.
Yeah, it's football. We've been saying it for a long time. Is really shifted gears, and the paradigm is now that football has become kind of the top of the chain. There has been some fluctuations, but it's pretty much been the mainstay, and one of the few that, as a whole, has not really taken as much of a hit as the market adjusted for value and pricing goes. So you got to love it, man. You got to love it. If you're someone that has been holding strong on some of your rarer cards, you're definitely still in a good place.
So let's correlate this with fantasy here a little bit. I'm going to start up James' question, because I think that's a great one. I may not even be able to answer that, but let's correlate this to fantasy here for a little bit. All right. So right now, Fantasy Pros has CeeDee Lamb as the number one wide receiver heading into 2024. Whether you agree with that or not is up for debate, but he should be definitely in the top tier. Would you not agree, Steve?
Yeah.
So he should be in the top tier. And if we pull up his 2020 rookie cards, you would think that a silver finish card is a nice card for CeeDee Lamb. It's got chrome finish. It matches the Cowboys, silver and chrome kind of look that they have. Yet what we see is that this card still struggles in price. It's still half of that of what Justin Jefferson's is in a different position. So this, for me, Steve, I start to look at this kind of data. And so when I go and invest in a 2020 skill position player, I am now tending to shift towards, I want to avoid this tier of card because it seems to struggle to really break out in price. Unless I grade it and get a PSA 10,
right.
Even then, it still seems to like it's not really worth my time.
Yeah, no, I agree. And for whatever reason, his price is were at some point, but still haven't been able to get anywhere near Justin Jefferson's. They've been close in some cases, but they haven't really gotten up to that point. I would say they're pretty close in skill level. Jefferson probably just a tad bit higher up on the totem pole, but you're right. I've looked at a lot of CeeDee Lamb stuff, and I'm always trying to buy if I find a good deal. But the stuff that really seems to move the needle on his is, like you said, just about a tier above this. So like autos, they don't have to be serial numbered, but pretty much anything with an auto is now going to put you in the over $100 price range. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that silver that you just showed me for $28, you put a Burrow or Herbert or someone of the equivalent skill at the quarterback position, you're talking hundreds of dollars all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I used to think, like, look, I'm going to sit here and tell you guys, I was wrong. I put out a video a couple years ago, when I first got in, like in 2020, 2021, it was all about for the skill position players, it was all about just getting the Prism Silver, even these select certified silvers. I thought these were going to do really well, Steve, because whenever I like crunched all the numbers, I found them to be more rare and more uncommon than the field level silvers even. So I was all about these cards. But you look, I mean, CeeDee Lamb has put up over 1,000 yards now 3 years in a row. This past year, he puts up 1,750 receiving yards, is the number one wide receiver in fantasy. The Dallas Cowboys also have the largest fan base. They have the most social media followers of any team in the NFL. And yet this is still a $10, $15 card for CeeDee Lamb.
And part of that, not all of it, but typically the closer to that player's rookie year that these kind of things happen, there's a bit more sustained value. Plus they haven't been to a Super Bowl, and things like that play a big role too. I did want to answer Hector's question. I have seen that video, and Andy, I think you'd agree that when you're talking about a long-term loss, it's all relative to when you get in, which is why when these new classes come out, I'm always cautioning you guys to just calm with the hype just a little bit and wait. And because a lot of these guys come out the box and, you get the Davis Millses and the Malik Willises and then the Trevor Lawrences. And, he's the next great guy. He's the next great guy. He's the next great guy. Just saying they all can't be the next great guy. And that's why you see the 2,000 card become an $1,800 card, become a $1,500 card, yada, 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 down to, 800. And then 5 years in, he's just above average. And you're like, oh, look, I lost money. Well, you bought in when the guy came out, and that's just going to happen with any player that isn't the next guy,
Bingo, Steve. And that's where I was eventually getting to, because I think ultimately this comes back to the 2023 product and the fact that Panini has really stretched out the release dates this year. So 2023 Prism has been sitting out there, and I see a ton of this base tier of a Prism being bought and sold like it's like they're rookie autos, basically, and it's definitely concerning to me that a lot of them are going to this time next year be worth less, even if the player does fantastic. And maybe there'll be some weeks where, yeah, sure, you're able to break even, or maybe you grade it, you get a 10. That certainly is going to help you make money on it for sure. But look, here's Jamar Chase, Optic Hollow. 2021 is egregious. There are cards that struggle really, really bad. When you look at Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, we can look at some of the quarterbacks. But the Optic Hollow is one of those from 2021 where I think they diluted it. I think they increased the print run too much, and it's not as uncommon. There were hits galore out of 2021 Optic. And as you can see here, maybe this one's even a little off center, but still $7-8.
Yeah.
Compared to what we know, like for example, Joe Burrow's Optic Hollow from 2020. I mean, that's a $150, $200 card, PSA 10. It could be a $500 card.
Yeah. And that while you're actually on that topic, I mean, I actually think that's a good price for that Jamar Chase. You know, he's in a good position to bounce back with Burrow, and that's also a big factor in why you're seeing that card under $10. Yeah, the print run plays a role. You know, they definitely printed more optic allos this past 2 years than in the past, but at the same time, a lot of that down trend on his cards is just from Burrow being hurt for most of the year, which caused a lack of production. Then Higgins being out for the year or for much of the year caused him to get doubled up a lot. So, I mean, if you get everybody healthy, you're going to have a huge year out of the guy, and that's going to shoot him back up. You know, that card shouldn't be a $7 card, Andy. I think that even with the print run, what it was, I think you would agree that that's probably a $15 to $20 card any day of the week.
And maybe the centering on that one didn't help it at all. I want to pull in. Let's pull in Amon-Ra St. Brown and talk. Bring it. Let's bring it back to fantasy. We've got two more guys here in top tier. Probably most people will put them. We're going to see here in just a little bit in Underdog Fantasy. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb. They're all going interchangeably in the first round. You know, they're all going to put up pretty similar numbers. At least that's what the projections are. They're going to be right there. Of course, Justin Jefferson's up there. Tyreek Hill's up there. I mean, it's a pretty, you know, it's a pretty heavy wide receiver focused first round, but there are like 4 running backs that are going. Last week we saw them fade a little bit, so that makes it interesting to me to think that the running backs have a little bit more opportunity in the card market as well. And then you look at free agency this year. There was a lot of running back focus. Definitely had the wide receiver in there. So it was all around pretty crazy, but there was definitely a big shift in the running back market, man. And we kind of talked about how the running back class coming in is kind of weak, but you look at these guys from 2021 and the graded results. Both these guys are doing okay. I mean, they're holding pretty strong here. Steve, they're holding decently strong. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown has done really well over the past 6 months, a year. I got to think there's a lot of, and you kind of alluded to this with Jamar Chase, a lot of playoff factor in here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, the Lions have been an ascending team for a while, and you've seen that with his card values. You know, they keep going up, where comparatively the Bengals, who were in a Super Bowl 2 years ago, have failed to return to that point. So you're seeing that adjustment being made in addition to Burrow's injury. So those are the kind of things that you should be using to your advantage when thinking about, you know, where was this card a year ago, 2 years ago? Where is it at now? And you could probably figure out a safe place somewhere in between where it might end up again.
Auctions, man. See, it's like I look at this auction here for, yeah, you know, some of these auctions just aren't very sticky. Like this kind of card is not very sticky in an auction. You can't just roll it out, end it when you want, and expect it to perform anywhere close to what its potential could be. Look at the buy it now here. I mean, a week and 2 days later, nothing changed for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No, I mean, it's the off season. You have much fewer eyes, on, you know, auctions in general. I wouldn't really advise doing a whole lot of auctions in the off season. It's good when there's a guy's hot and you know, he had a big week, or there's trade news. Like if you had Fields, you could do Fields in auctions. Like Fields popped because of the news. You know, has anything really changed with Fields? No, but he's in the news, so people are looking for him.
Yeah, he's in the news, so that's what it is, and so that definitely helps out the resale.
40. See, look at that.
Yeah,
2 days earlier.
2 days before, $40, $15 what the PSA 8s were going for. It's just not a sticky card in auction, so it's like one of those tiers that I would avoid if you're planning on selling it in auction. Obviously, I would recommend you sell it in a buy it now in that scenario. And a lot of these, I mean, look, this Probstein 1, 2, 3. It's all they do is basically auctions, you know.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're just really strapped for cash and you can afford to wait 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe even a couple days, just put it at a fair price and buy it now, and just don't shortchange yourself.
All right, which one of you guys bought this card? I think Gabe Davis bought this card right here.
Oh boy,
You're never gonna get that $2 back, man.
no, no, no. Yeah,
So
hey,
Steve, let's
for
let's
$2, it's maybe just a card they liked.
Oh, I
Give,
got
we'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one.
It's going up on the wall next to his North Dakota State University helmet. Let's pivot here, Steve. I know how much you love Spectra. Let's look at some live auctions.
Oh man,
Spectra is a set that I feel has grown a lot. Carter and I were talking about this set the other day, and he's got very much a Steve eBay Hitman vibe on Spectra now.
oh man, when I was listening to that on the way to work, Andy, and I was like, yeah, exciting, man. It's good to see people coming around. What a beautiful set, man. And he was nuts on the money when he was talking about the old NBA cards, and that's kind of like reminiscent of like the mid to late 90s, early 2000s basketball inserts that existed. I mean, these cards have that eye appeal, and there's autos, there's a thick card stock. They have so many different serial numbered designs that change with the serial number. There's not just a color change, the whole card design changes, and it's just a cool card, man. I'm happy to see that it's doing well. And you got to know that Panini thinks highly of it when they're charging $1,200 for a box.
Yeah. I got to say, though, this card right here. So let's dissect this auction for Anthony Richardson here. It's got some cracked ice, like blue cracked ice on it, but it's horizontally formatted. It does have the RC shield. It's got 2 patches, got some stitching. It's got the pro uniforms. But it's currently $67, ending in just a minute with 20 bids. You think this thing's going to shoot up at all?
I wouldn't say shoot up. It may go up a little bit more, but just it being the off season, and there's not a ton of hype around Richardson right now. Like, his stuff is rebounding because he's expected to be back and healthy this year, which is why when you showed the chart earlier, you're like, oh, look, Richardson's going up. Oh, look, Bryce Young's going up. But CJ Stroud is going down. And if that doesn't make sense, you just think about it in this aspect, like his prices were overinflated while these guys were in the dumpster because they were either hurt or playing like crap last year. So I would expect this card to end around this price. It may go up just a slight amount at the last minute.
Do you think that this is a profitable card here at $70, $4 shipping?
It's not a huge needle mover. I would say it's like if he puts the CJ Stroud type show on this year, yeah, it could see like 1 to 1.5 times, like the 120, double up range maybe on that card. But again, that's the thing about this 23 set is there's not a lot of autos, at least of the quarterbacks outside of Richardson and Levis. So some of these type of cards are still the best cards you can get from these sets, and that's not the case in 22, 21, or before.
Who could we compare this card to in terms of, like, do you think his hype, Anthony Richardson's hype, could be comparable to Justin Herbert's maybe from 2020? Do you think that would be fair?
No, I don't think it's quite at that level. I think that due to the injury, especially, I think that he's more in like the 2021 Justin Fields hype still, where it's similar skill set. They got cannon arms. They like to run. The ceiling is really completely unknown. I think that you could probably find a 2021 Spectra Fields card like this, and it's probably not, I would think, not that much less. Maybe it's $40 or $50, but it's still probably a pretty expensive card.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hard. The last 2 that I'm finding here are from January, so it's like pre-news, and the patch isn't good, but they were just selling for.
Those patches are pretty. I mean, that patch is really nice for the Richardson. You got 2 napkins on there,
Whoops.
versus maybe just look up
I put it in the
Justin
wrong year
Fields.
too, though.
Just look up patch. Maybe don't look up rising rookie. Maybe just look patch.
Well, I was hoping to get. There's a December 9th. Yeah, maybe I don't even put in. There you go, March
Okay.
1st. Oh,
Yep.
that's
See?
out of 8.
Oh well, yeah. That's a drastic difference, but still, it gives you an idea that there's still
Yeah,
obviously interest in his cards there.
yeah, it's recent.
25. That's January though.
It's recent.
His outside of like the week or two leading up to his trade, his prices, like you said, were actually in the toilet, and they almost doubled on the trade news. In some cases, more than that.
What about Trevor Lawrence? Feb 9,
He's
Feb 8.
probably Trevor's probably a little bit higher than him at the moment.
I mean, it's February
Wow.
8th out of 35.
No, you're right, and that's from February. Wow. I mean, we've been talking about that a lot. We're not the only ones that have noticed, Andy, that he has not yet lived up to the next great thing at QB just yet. I mean, those go back down to those hypers, the serial numbered out of 149. I mean, that's probably like an $80 to $100 card plus, not no more than a year ago.
This one right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has dropped a lot, especially flaming out this past season. And they're definitely looking at Gabe Davis and stuff as a downgrade. Right now, the weapons look downgraded.
It's too soon to say. I mean, if anything, it's a side grade.
So let's pop back over to live auctions. Yeah, so it's like that was fair. Then 67 is fair on that card, but as new sets are released, the tier ranking of that card drops. In my opinion, it's a decent card. If it was a game worn patch, it would be a little bit more valuable long term. But that's the kind of card that I would be looking to immediately turn around, take good photos, and list it and then buy it now for like, I'd be willing to make, just like a 20 or 30% profit off of it and move it, because otherwise the likelihood is I could end up holding that card forever.
One thing that you've always preached is take good photos, right? Take good photos.
Yeah.
If you're not taking good photos of these cards, you are leaving money on the table, because the amount of refraction and designs on these cards is really, really nice. So if you're not taking good pictures, you're really hurting yourself, because what distinguishes itself from any other set is in fact like the surface. It's got all these different groove designs and colors and all that. So if you're taking a bad pic, you're just hurting yourself.
Yeah, like I don't like these pictures in the top loader. You got reflection, you got scratches on the top loaders.
Don't take pictures in top loaders.
Yeah, some people, that's all they do, and it definitely detracts. Like, look how good this chromatic CJ Stroud looks out naked, and it's not in this reflective plastic case right here.
Yeah, you get too much glare. If you're going to take a picture, you can take it in a penny sleeve, worst case scenario. But ideally, if you just capture the surface of the card with the light the right way, that's going to be the best way to do it.
They made Spectra look pretty good. They did some pretty neat stuff with it this year.
Yeah, I got a couple metas, which is the out of 25 of some guys I like, and I'll be holding on to those for a little while yet. But yeah, Hector's saying that it's more of like Phoenix than it is Immaculate. That's in the eye of the beholder at this point. Obviously, nobody's paying $1,200 for Phoenix, right? So there's obviously some people that feel that this is worth $1,200 because they're buying it. I'm watching the product get opened on YouTube and such. So now, are you potentially going to net back what you paid in? You're going to have to hit something awfully mighty to do that. But the type of card you can pull from this, like the Vinyl 101s with the Relic or the Auto or any of those, I mean, those are some of the biggest cards you could possibly pull for any of these guys right now.
I like James' thought mindset here. He said compare Kyler Murray to Anthony Richardson, which is not a bad idea, man, because, in terms of availability, like product availability, right now AR is kind of close to Kyler because most of his sets, well, a lot of his sets haven't come out yet, and they're both coming off of injuries and stuff, and Kyler's still really young, and they're speculated to draft a top guy right now. So I think, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, probably right now, skill set wise, they're pretty similar. Obviously, one is much bigger of a human than the other, but as far as the way they play the game is still probably pretty similar.
So, Steve, let me say hi to some of these guys in the chat. Red 5, what's going on, man? Tuba guy Rye, what's going on, man? Ryan Childress, what's up? Gabe Davis in the house. James, appreciate you, man. Hector's always dialed in. Jason, man. Matthew Bennett is causing a frenzy right now in the chat with his question about Bryce Young. It looks like some people are down on him, and other, like Tuba Guy Rise said Bryce Young equals Mac Jones. Gabe's wanting him to calm down on that one.
It's too soon to say. I mean, you could argue that he didn't get a fair shake with the team that they had out there for him, and maybe there's some truth to that. But the reality is most guys don't when they come into the league. You go to the worst team when you're drafted first overall, and they may not be well coached, and they may not have guys that you mesh with very well. And what we need to drill into our heads, Andy, is not every guy becomes the guy right away. They take a year, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. And that's a lot of times why you see those big price regressions from a year 1, year 2, year 3 guy. And that's why you can find big deals on guys like Nico Collins, like other guys that didn't pop off immediately, but we knew eventually would when the situation was better.
Yeah. But they added Deontay Johnson. That's definitely going to help him out. It's only going to make him a little bit better there. That's going to be nice. And yeah, we'll see what they do in the draft and the rest of the offseason. I know a lot of people they're buying Bryce Young. He's pretty cheap. I think you can. I'm honestly in the camp of having like mixed exposure to both Bryce Young and Will Levis at the same rate, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm looking at, maybe the Titans receiving core. It's debatable, but it's probably a little bit better right now than the Carolina Panthers. I mean,
it's
I
funny
think they did another. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say it's funny that someone compared Bryce Young to Mac Jones, because earlier in the video, someone asked about that QB video with values going, down into oblivion. And I'm like, well, the main example they actually used was the Mac Jones Donruss PSA 10, Andy, which you remember somebody foolishly paid, $2,000 for? Maybe it was more, which we definitely said was a bad idea back then. That's just a given. But it's a mirage. You can't buy the newest card that is mass printed and pay $2,000 for it. It's obviously going to lose money. Everyone could have told you that from day one. But let me show you an example. I bought 0 Bryce Young last year. 0. Okay. I didn't buy a single one. However, I bought one recently, and I'm thinking that he has some upside. They're going to build around him, and something just like the laser, orange laser, something with, look at that. It's got good centering, top to bottom, left to right.
Yeah.
It's the kind of card that when he pops off is going to send people running at it. Not everyone's going to go out for the $200-$300 auto right away. They may go for a card like that in the off season was, a quarter of what it was during the season, because he didn't live up to his hype. So a lot of it is just, when you hedge your bets, don't, bet when the market's way up. Sometimes you got to buy in the bargain bin and then sell later.
So let's look at the preliminary data here. Right now, we've got a ton of numbers coming back from PSA. Mark is curious about what the results are in base prism. We can kind of run through it. Base prism, CJ is 45%. Raw to PSA 10. Let's see. Anthony Richardson, 43%.
I was bummed. I
See.
was trying to buy a Puka PSA 10 the other day, and it spiked hard at the last minute.
Really? 40%. So it's definitely less than optimal here on the base prism. Will Levis, 48%. So Will Levis so far has got the best, but he's also got I think the lowest sample size out of all four of those guys. And Stroud and Richardson have a pretty big sample size. What about this orange laser? Let's see, because this one's, so the orange laser is doing a lot better at 57%. And solid sample size of about 600 cards there. Let's look at.
Well, there's
your Bryce
laser,
Young.
119. Okay.
Yeah, and 55.8%, so almost 56%. Solid sample size, about 200, 300 cards. And your PSA 10 is selling for about 120 right now, Steve. So
the flip from raw to 10 is a massive gap right now. So if you're looking for auctions on that card, just use it as an example because I'm holding one here and you just had it pulled up. You find the raw one, you could potentially get it in the $20, $25 range, submit it, maybe spend $20, get it back, and you hit a 10. It's like a 6 to 7x even right now before the season starts. And if you get a 9, it's probably closer to a break even.
Yeah, and it's great, and it's grading better. You have better than 50% odds to get that orange laser back as a 10 than you do any of the other cards we've looked at so far. So that's promising. Look at that, the silver for Anthony Richardson on. I mean that's pretty solid, man. He's got almost 500, like 450 cards graded. And most of them are coming back 9s here. 61% 9s.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much, as long as you're being smart about, sending in something respectable, like you have a almost 100% chance of getting a 9 or a 10 based on that data.
Yeah, 45% for CJ Stroud. So yeah, that's interesting. What about these variations, Steve? You think he's doing a little bit better?
I like those, man. I like those. They remind me of like a little bit of the XRCs in a way, but at the same time, they kind of just look like a cool traditional old school football card with like a modern card stock to it.
You find one like this, the Bryce Young variation silver 10, selling for $225 to $250 right now. But I think that's partly because there's only 37 10s. It's hard to get a 10. It's a 35%. It's the lowest we've seen yet. Raw to 10 conversion rate. And you actually are getting a decent amount of 8s on this. And we're talking about 100 cards, pretty small sample size. Let's check. What's an interesting comparison is to take CJ Stroud's silver, right? And you see the base silver has been submitted. If you were to add those up, 390 plus 440 9s and 25 8s. If you were to add all those up, that's what, like 800, right at 800 cards. So if we go and look at his variation, all right, so let's look at the variation, which is actually looks to be more valuable. Look at that. It's also more rare. That's why. Yeah. And it's a harder raw to PSA 10 conversion. So there's only a 36% on CJ Stroud's as well. So what we just uncovered is that you should be targeting these variation silvers because they're considerably more rare than the base silver. And if you can get them back as a 10, well, now you kind of hit the jackpot because people are going to chase those, as you can clearly see here, because it's a harder card to obtain. There's only been 284 compared to 800.
Yeah.
284 of the silver prism variation submitted compared to 800 of the base silver. That's kind of mind blowing, man. That's
You know
almost
what's an interesting play when you pulled the silvers up, like the price of the 9, Andy. Pull the silver back up on the Stroud.
on the variation.
Just the regular silver. I think it was closer to the top.
The regular prism silver.
Yeah. All right. So look at the 9 and look at the 10. I'm just saying, we a lot of times talk about visually the 9 and 10 are almost indistinguishable. That could be a nice play to crack and regrade given the price difference between the two and the cost of grading.
Yeah, it's about a coin toss. I mean, it's about a coin toss. See if we have any. I don't have it. Unfortunately, I don't have any CGC data in here. They're just. I have some CSG, or excuse me, SGC. Got an acronym.
Yeah,
ITIS
909.
there.
That's a lot of money, dude.
The SGC is doing pretty good. So typically, from what I've seen, the CGC will do pretty close to the SGC. Obviously, PSA 10 is still gonna reign king,
Sure.
but somewhere between 7. So the average is 800 there. The average here is 1,000 on the PSA 10. So I got to think the CSG 10 would be an average of 800, give or take. So it's still a little bit more valuable than what the silver variation is, although the silver variation is more rare this year. It clearly seems the silver variation is more rare. Look at this. All right. Let's do it with Anthony Richardson. Base prism silver, 267 9s, 157 10s, and 8 8s. So that's like, 400, a little bit like 425. And then you go to the silver variation and you got 83 plus 77. That's 150, 200. So once again, you got about half of the variation silvers graded compared to the base silvers graded. I gotta think that's because this is a Prism brand. The release dates have been dragged out. It's really been the main product everybody's been targeting now for literally the past close to 2 months, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't submit both of them at the same rate. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got a Prism Silver of these guys and you're grading, you're going to grade either one of them. You're going to grade either one of them or both of them if you got it. So to me, this is directly correlated with the print run of these cards.
And you still have a long time till you have the next class of guys in a pro uniform. So there's still a good window if you have these to either list them or send them in and get them graded so that you can. Before we get into the next thing, though, Andy, shout out to Diamond Dog saying he's buying 24/7, 365, always scanning for the opportunity. Freaks don't sleep. Andy, at the National, there's one thing that we always do, and that's we're always sniping, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Shane
Always
wants to know how
sniping.
the Stroud Green Waves are grading. Do you mean that Pulsar, maybe? The one that's on the top right of your screen, Andy? I wonder if that's the one he's asking about.
Where's the question? Who's it from?
Shane Callan, right under Diamond Dogs.
Oh, how are Stroud Green Waves grading? Green Waves. Oh, okay. Is he talking about the green pulsar here?
That's what I was thinking. Probably that's what he meant.
Yeah, I think if there was a green wave, that might be really rare. Or it would probably, maybe a green shimmer. They have a green shimmer, I think. Yeah, this card is doing pretty well resale wise. 46% though. Once again,
green wave is from the hangers.
Yeah,
he says there is a green wave.
There is a green wave.
Let us take a look.
There's a green prism. There it is. There's the green
Oh,
wave
yeah.
there.
No, I remember those now. I forgot those existed. Yeah, there's a green and a red of those.
Small sample size of less than 100, but so far pretty good, brother. It's
Wow.
61% PSA 10 hit rate. Not getting nearly the resale value though. I got to think that Joel Garza is right, and Joel is our resident optic preview guy. Joel's been talking about optic previews for years.
Dude, he's right, man. I have quite a few from 2020 as well, and even the prism variations, like the black and whites. There's definitely a handful of people that know the scarcity on those and will pay, but as a community, there's not the same acknowledgement for those cards, which is sad. I actually wanted to know, Andy, just for my knowledge, and I'm sure some other people would like to know, the light blue is actually a not serial numbered one, but they typically do sell for quite a bit. I'm just curious to know. It's not the blue wave. It's actually just a colored light blue variation. It's just called light blue. And there's probably not
just
many
a light blue
graded.
prism.
There's probably very few of them graded.
So it's probably, if we were to come in here and filter by the hit rate, I bet you if you filter by the hit rate, it's going to be up. The more rare cards will be up at the top because they have a super low sample size.
Oh yeah,
and
Spark. It's probably right in that trajectory. Lions color match light blues. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I still haven't seen one popping up. Wait, no, that's the green. Interesting. See if I can pull an auction up just so people could see what it is they look like.
I think the blue cracked ice for Richardson is really nice. 16-0. Oh, there's haven't been no sales on the PSA 10. But there's 16 of them out there. Nobody's selling them. They are selling the 9 though. Jeez, the 9's going for
here
over $1,000. Wow.
I'm actually
out of 99.
I'll link it in the private chat. I'm wondering if they didn't do that parallel this year because the one I found was for 2022. That'd be a shame because that's I just bought. Thankfully, before the signing of of Cousins, I picked up some Drake London light blues.
Oh, did you see the Kirk Cousins did not stick at all, man? The Kirk Cousins price increase did not stick at all.
It's
I
gonna
don't know.
It's gonna.
I don't
take
know if you noticed that. Let me go by total sales. Go back to his cards and just look at 30 days. So he's rebounded a little bit. Well, they're actually no, he hasn't rebounded yet on the card. He's still sticking out. There's a couple auctions. Post news, there was an $80 buy it now, and then it immediately tanked back down. 2 days later, somebody tried to roll out an auction, and the auction ended for $35.
Yeah, man. Power of the
Not
buy
a
it
sticky
now.
card. It's not a sticky card to put in auction. Kirk Cousins Topps Chrome PSA 10, even if it's quote unquote rare, because it's just not. That's not going to stick. Definitely not for Cousins.
Ghost is asking about the black and white checkerboards. I think they're considered case hits. I don't know if they're a true case hit or not, but unfortunately, the problem with them is that because of the geometric shapes on there, it makes them very easy to identify if they're off-centered. You could literally measure how much of the square is missing on each side of the card.
That's good for pre-grading that shows. Like if you actually get one in person, bring your little ruler and do some quick calculations there at the booth.
Yeah, but look at it's not a color match, but I really like the light blues. Maybe they didn't make them in 23, or maybe they didn't make them in 23, but
either that or they made them very rare. We could do a scrub in here. 2023 Panini Prism. Yeah, it's gonna have to be. We could do light blue Prism. Nah, I don't have anything.
yeah, maybe they didn't make it. They made the blue wave again. I saw that one, but blue wave, blue cracked ice, those are all super popular. But I just really like the light blue because people see that and they know that it's scarce, like the true red and some of the other ones.
Gabe's dropping in a snipe in the chat. 2023 Bryce Young Prism No Huddle Red out of 70 PSA 9, 12-minute away. Last raw ones, pretty impressive. The Bryce Young No Huddle Red is going to be the red disco.
Jason's saying, I thought honeycombs were case hits, but it seems like I pull one every box now.
Yeah, well, it's not a true case hit.
You may have gotten really lucky, but I've also heard people say that the same thing about Genesis this year, and that they think that they printed more than in the past, which is possibly true.
Here's the No Huddle Red for Bryce Young. PSA 9s, very low pop card. 2 9s, 5 10s, 0 8s. I got no sales on the 9. But if we were going based off of what the 10 is currently selling for, the 10 just sold in the auction for $610. And he's saying raw ones go for about 200 to 300. So that means that the raws are going to be really close to the 9 value. So I'd be trying to get the 9 for really close, not too much higher than what those raws sold for.
Jason, never seen a Genesis. It's a cool card to have. They're just nice. They look nicer in person than, like I said, taking a good photo matters. You got to let the light hit it just right. But I mean, this is a good example, Andy, of the risk versus reward. You see what the Strouds are selling for, and you see what the Levises are selling for. Bryce Young is not quite in the middle, but kind of close to the middle of both of those guys. And the reason his prices are even still where they are is because he was the number 1 pick, and he's only in his second year, and they're building a team around him right now. So there's definitely reason to think that he'll improve. But again, this is where the gamble comes into play. If his card was $10, it'd be a lot easier for more people to get into it. But as we've seen, the big value on both sides of gains and losses come from the same position, quarterback.
Yeah. And so that's why there's certain tiers of cards that I'll pretty much totally avoid for skill position players. I really like to ultimately hone in on the rookie auto market for skill position players, because from what I've seen, and it's not just those, but it's cards with also known scarcity, like serial numbered cards, definitely rookie cards, because it's cards like those that can oftentimes drop way down in auction, only for those to demand a super premium whenever the player is more hyped up.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, that plays into the risk versus reward. If you have a guy that's down on his value and his card's at 100 and it pops off, it's potentially a $200 card, which leaves a lot of markup from when you bought it. But if you have a $10 card of his and it goes up to 20, that's obviously the same percentage-wise gain, but you're working a little bit harder for your buck. So that's the beauty of all these different sets, scarcities, and entry points.
It really is, man. So now let's pivot and focus on the player values themselves by hopping into a underdog draft here, Steve.
Ooh, now you're speaking my language here. Doing a big board. Jason said he thought he had a Genesis, but it was only a blue reflective. Yeah, some of them look awfully deceptive. You got to really look close in the right light. If it's not well illuminated, it might look dark enough to fool you.
Dude, Tuba guy's got a good point. There's a lot of times I've looked at a Genesis and you have to do a double take because the little swirls in the background can be hard to spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times they go undervalued. But I agree with Alex here. Kind of put a bow on it. I definitely stay away from college uniform cards and pro uniform cards if I can. But then, of course, there's a lot of context that's got to be inserted in there. Do they have pro uniform cards? If they do, how many do they have? Is it only one set? Well, then, if so, then and how much hype does the player have? Well, then there still could be a lot of demand for the college uniform cards in that situation. Like the college uniform cards are still pretty relevant as we get into the beginning of the season for all the guys that are getting ready to be drafted because of just the release schedule,
Yeah, and while it hasn't quite hit the same tier of where baseball's Bowman firsts are the sought after card, college Bowman firsts have definitely gone up as far as people's impression of that card, but at the same time, it's still just in a college uniform. So while the demand and prices have at least maintained better, they're still not going to have the same long-term value.
Yes, sir. So
Jason asks about the draft. We are getting in the $10 big board.
Yeah, $10 big board guys here, underdogfantasy.com. Time to get our fantasy draft in. You don't have any start set decisions on this, no waiver wire throughout the season. We'll just draft a big team. Underdog will optimize the roster throughout the year, but this will give us a good look at player values as a whole. And we'll get to see where players are being valued at, which ones are undervalued, overvalued, the different tiers of players that you can then use to correlate with the card market. So let's get into 30 seconds per pick here. It's going to go pretty fast. You guys can hop into this with us. Look, if you're a new user, don't forget to use that promo code QUEST to get your instant 100% deposit bonus.
And you got us with a 10-second countdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a 5. We seem to have been having good results with the 5 second. So 5 second and then go. So it's really a 6 second.
That'll work.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter. Go.
6.
Yep. Yeah, we got some open spots. So look at that. We got 6 open spots. It typically fills pretty quick because it's a big pool that we're playing against. So not only are we drafting against each other, we're drafting against other people as well. As you can see, this is current entrance, 142,000, 63% full. It's going to fill up to 223,000 people. First place is going to get 200 grand at the end of week 17. Our very own Carter Bryant cashed pretty high in one of these last year, man. Pretty high. So they're definitely lucrative. I cashed out over $500 in profits from this past season on Underdog Fantasy. It's just something that's a lot of fun. Supplement that with with what you're doing with cards. And ultimately, what I use this for is to see which players are being overvalued or undervalued in fantasy. And a lot of times that same, that same, ranking, it carries over to the card market, and when they start going
Right.
up in ADP or start going up in fantasy value, all of a sudden you see that's because of a news event or performance event that's also driving their rookie card values up. If they're going down in value, that's because of whatever happened. They're typically losing hype and losing demand for the rookie cards, and that's when you want to go start targeting those auctions to see if you can find some super rare cards for super cheap of those players. A lot of times you can find some great deals. Or if you notice here, like for example, it's never going to happen, but what if Garrett Wilson doesn't go until the 4th round, and you start to notice that in like 3 different drafts? Well, all of a sudden that's like should be an immediate cue to you to go over to eBay and start hunting for Garrett Wilson auctions, because he's going way undervalued in fantasy. Chances are he's going undervalued in the card market as well.
Yeah, and I know we mention him probably about every week because he's one of our favorites, but you could use the same comparison from a player who's gone up. We saw Nico Collins back in 21 probably getting drafted in the 180s. The year after, getting drafted in the 150s. Last year, getting drafted in like the 120s to 100 range. And he's in the top 20 now. He's in the top 15 now. You know what I mean? Like, that is an exact matchup with player demand from a fantasy standpoint and his card value.
Look, and Diamond Dog said it helped out his fantasy performance last year. Well, I appreciate that, Diamond Dog.
Man. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. We got CeeDee Lamb off the board.
There you go. Look, he's the top wide receiver in this draft off the board.
I don't know how to check it or if there even is a way, but I'm thinking, I don't know about you, but I got to be getting close to one of these badges, bro. And it's got to be close.
Got to be close, man. We just keep pushing. Keep pushing. We do. I do one a week. I know you're probably doing
with Derek, so I gotta be getting up there.
Yeah. I think I talked to Carter the other day, and he asked me how many I'd done, and I said I think I've done like 6 or 7, and he's like, I've done he did like 18 or 20. I'm like, dear God. So Ayuk is an interesting one. Brandon Ayuk, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. His values lately have been a little suppressed. I think it's because, there's been rumors that Brandon Ayuk is going to be traded.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of spots he goes to that's not good. Like they were talking about Brandon Ayuk to the Chargers potentially.
Ooh.
I don't like that.
Dang.
Or Brandon Ayuk. No, it was Brandon Ayuk to the Steelers. That's what it was.
Ew, no.
Yeah, Chargers can't afford him.
No,
it was Brandon Ayuk to the. That's what I was trying to think. It was Brandon. They do need a wide receiver. The Chargers are going to draft one. It was Brandon Ayuk to the Steelers. And I'm like, I don't like that at all. That's not good for Brandon Ayuk.
Chargers would be good though.
Man, this late position like this, y'all really got me tempted to go robust RB, but this has been pretty balanced so far. I can't pass up on AJ Brown. I think he has a big bounce back year. I mean, look at that consistency. I mean, when I say bounce back, man, he put up 1,500 yards, so it's like he's in the top tier.
Yeah. I mean, if they didn't fall off in the last third of the season, you could only imagine.
Yeah, he puts up 1,500 yards, and I'm looking for a bounce back.
That should tell you what you need to know about his card values.
Yeah, exactly, man. He's definitely undervalued in the card market. That's for sure. I think I will go. Yeah, I think I will start out. Maybe start out balanced here. I love this spot for. Well, I can't take 2 Phillies. I got to go Jonathan Taylor. I'll go balanced because we don't have schedules and stuff yet, and then
Right.
I can kind of plan out a little stackage around this.
Yeah, you can use guessing, intuition, whatever things you think, hypothetical situations to your advantage. But at the end of the day, everyone drafting this early is playing under the same presumption, and in some cases, no presumption about what team some of these rookies might be on. Or I think by now free agency's mostly settled down, but for the most part, you should have a pretty good idea with these guys and take advantage of your personal opinion of a player before their ADP just drastically changes.
Yeah, Jason, I think the badge is just a status symbol.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? A hometown guy. Take a hometown guy.
Hometown guy.
Do we know who's throwing him the ball? Not at all, but he's been pretty much quarterback proof his whole career, so I'm not too worried about it.
See, from my calculations, we're still in wide receiver 1 territory. I mean, this is still a top tier wide receiver. Or do you think we've dropped down into second tier?
Like no, but we're close. Maybe the next few guys will take us into that next tier here.
All right, Rashee Rice with the addition of Marquise Brown. I get it. Rashee Rice is the possession receiver there. He should have increased targets this upcoming year, but I don't know if they're enough to warrant putting him in that tier with Stephon Diggs. Like he took Rashee Rice over Diggs. I don't know if I could do that, man.
I've seen in a couple drafts Rice go in the first round. Now, to me, that's a reach, but there's obviously some people who don't think so.
Ayuk. I love Ayuk, but I love him with Purdy. I get nervous about him going to a situation like the Steelers. That would be brutal. But I ultimately don't think it happens, but
there's a chance that the Bengals go out and try to get a receiver either in the draft or by trading because T. Higgins does not want to be there.
Good Lord.
Can you imagine if they traded up in the top 7?
Yeah, it's almost like they should draft Brock Bowers. Tight end. I'd love to see him make that move.
I'm sure they would like that too, but I still think that's the Chargers play. We'll see.
And I think the Chargers are locked in on Marvin Harrison Jr. or Rome. The Rome and Dunze feels like a great fit for them. It's just like sounds like a great fit for them.
Yeah, he's one of the few guys that seems to be linked to a lot of different teams as far as where he might go. I think the most common is the Giants as far as his pairing, but it's just all nonsense until draft day rolls around. You know what I mean? You could speculate. It doesn't mean anything.
Ooh, I am in tanked out territory here.
Let's see what Andy's doing so far. He's got a running back and a receiver. He's got the 2 running backs now, so he's going with a 2-headed monster.
Yeah. To me, ETN is still in the top tier running backs.
I agree.
Man, this is egregious. This is egregious that Cooper Kupp is falling down this low. I can't let him slide anymore. Although I do like Laporta here. Laporta was money last year. Laporta should probably be the pick here.
Be hard to argue that.
I got him at For whatever reason, I got Laporta at 6 picks past ADP as the first tight end off the board in the beginning of the 4th round. Would be totally unheard of last year because Kelsey was going at the end of the 1st. Mark Andrews was going in the 2nd. And then you had you had like Kyle Pitts going in the 4th round last year. But we've got some better quarterbacks in the league now. We got more wide receivers. Look at all the wide receivers that are up in the top 3 rounds. Running back resurgence has been a big thing this past year. And heading into 2024, you can see last year there was literally 1, maybe 2 running backs going in the 1st round. Now you got 4. You could potentially put 5, 6 there with Kyren and Johnson. It's very balanced, running back, wide receiver here in a traditional draft.
It's interesting. You remember the whole, running backs. They're fighting for contracts and they're not getting paid. Didn't seem to be any problems this year, though.
I still have Kyle Pitts on my dynasty squad.
Good.
It was a
stick with your pick, man. You took him and you're sticking with him.
I'm sticking with him, man. I'm not trading him away.
Patricio Mahomes is off the board.
I'm gonna reap the rewards this year too. So, if I was targeting like running backs that were highly projected, because if you're drafting Kyren Williams at 13 overall in fantasy, you're expecting him to put up over 1,000 yards. You're expecting him to put up like 1,500 all-purpose yards between rushing and receiving to pay off at his ADP at that spot at number 13. That's a valuable pick. So if I were to go to eBay and look for his rookie cards, I would expect Kyren Williams rookie ticket autos to be similarly priced to that of Jonathan Taylor, and they're not. I can tell you right now, Jonathan Taylor's are going to be closer to $100, and Kyren Williams are going to be closer to $20 to $30. That's because Jonathan Taylor has he's got a bigger stature, he's got better draft capital, and he's also put up a couple of elite seasons. He's got a lot of promising careers. So he's like the same thing with Saquon Barkley, and he's got a lot more scarcity to his rookie cards. But I was just looking at like Kyren here, Devon A-Chain, maybe even Breece Hall, a little bit undervalued right now, Steve. That's kind of like my initial take, is that Kyren's kind of sticking out here like a sore thumb, especially with the offensive line improvements that the Rams just made. They just made some serious O-line improvements in free agency that are going to be huge for him next year.
And with Breece, too, it's not just the left tackle upgrade, but you can even argue that the improvement in the passing game with Mike Williams, we see this year in, year out. If you make the passing game better, the defenders have to focus on something, and in some downs it's going to be a pass-heavy focus, leaving the run game more exposed and vice versa. So, I mean, Breece did a lot last year with nothing. Let's be honest. He did a lot with nothing, and he's into a lot with something this year. T-Mac.
I almost auto-picked, man, but I got it off. I love me some Terry McLaurin. I'm going to invest in Terry McLaurin to the end of time. He's just a really, really good player.
It seems like if things work out well, I mean, this could be the season he has a respectable QB throwing him the ball. Granted, it's probably going to be a rookie, but probably a respectable QB at least.
Don't see how I could pass up Aaron Jones here either. I mean, he's a guy who could produce as a tier 1 running back. Like I'm getting him at what, like a tier 3 tier 2, end of tier 2 price. He goes to a perfect landing spot for him. Also division rival. from that of the Green Bay Packers. So yeah, with the depth, I mean, okay, they got Ty Chandler. Clearly, they brought in Aaron Jones because of his skill set. Aaron Jones could supplant a ton of running backs. He's like Ty Chandler plus plus.
Damn, I really wanted to take Kirk there. I thought he was going to keep sliding. Yeah. That's a value. I like that value there. Brian Thomas Jr.
And Aaron Jones is one of those guys who didn't even get a rated rookie logo.
True.
In 2017, not a whole lot of rookie cards. It's all about the prism. So he's a guy where some other guys I would like Kyron. I'm just going to totally fade his prism silver tier, like that base tier for him. I'm going to go straight for whatever rookie autos I can find. Whereas Aaron Jones, I'll buy $1 prism silvers all day long. You know, get me a serial number prism of Aaron Jones for $5 to $10. Yeah, sign me up, man.
He's gonna have some big games for sure, like he did down the stretch last year.
And playing for Minnesota, a team that's likely to move up in the draft a quarterback, to get a JJ McCarthy in there. They've got Justin Jefferson. They've got one of the most explosive offenses in the league still. It's going to be explosive. Kevin O'Connell's a great play caller. He's an elite play caller. You know, you got to put a new quarterback in there. There's going to be a ton of hype for Aaron Jones in September. I think his ADP is too low right now for where he's at. I guess they're still giving credit to Ty Chandler, maybe because Cam Akers on the roster. No, you saw like they gave Alexander Mattison such a long leash last year for being such a bad running back, and yet they still, because the coaching staff had faith in him, gave him like this bell cow role for such a long time.
Yep.
Aaron Jones is going to get that, and he's going to actually execute with it. It's going to. I think he crushes his current ADP of 62.
I mean, think of it this way. You know, look at the small sample size of what he did late last year. It's comparative to still his prime numbers. It doesn't seem like his efficiency's fallen off. And then you put him in that offense with those elite playmakers. I think that a lot of good things will happen.
Yeah. What do you think about Joe Mixon here at 57 by Joke Maker?
Mr. Mixon, I think he's a value. He's definitely a value. He didn't. Maybe the offense is a slight downgrade from the Bengals, but if he's used in the same role, which you have to think he would be, then he should still continue to produce. And plus, he's good for, the 300 target touch range, if you will. So that's what you ideally want. Plus, he's used in the pass game. If you can get him this late, that's a huge value. He's a guy that you could plug in and legitimately ride the whole year, not just in this kind of a league, but in like a regular start-sit league as well.
But do you think he should be going before David Montgomery and Aaron? Well, yeah, he went. I guess I took Aaron Jones over David Montgomery. That's kind of.
Yeah, no, I think Montgomery's still not getting the love, man, and that's because people are taking Gibbs in the first round. I think that the value in fantasy, at least, is in waiting and getting Montgomery later.
It's also pretty wild to me. It feels strange to have seen Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, and Austin Eckler drop this low in ADP. Like I feel like we should be in a running back dead zone right now, but we're not. This is just.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some guys that have slid down for sure.
Now I got to make a pick here. I think I'm gonna go with DeAndre Swift on this one in Chicago, even though it feels gross, man. Or maybe Raheem Mostert, Nick Chubb. I mean,
It's wild because any of these guys could have anywhere from mid to extremely high output seasons. Like Chubb, obviously, it's going to depend on how hard he bounced back from that injury. Mostert, I mean, a guy that was one of the top scoring running backs last year, you can get in the 8th, 9th round. It seems just wild to me.
yeah, his efficiency. I did not auto pick D Hop. I starred him up, Gabe. I starred him up, man.
Oh, Javante. I was looking at him.
I got no beef. That's why I didn't go Tony Pollard. I went D Hop, and because I went Terry McLaurin, I didn't go Austin Eckler. I'm diversifying my portfolio here. I intentionally drafted D Hop. Oh, he was on the porch. Could only hear me.
Let's see, Derek's got the all rookie team rolling out right now.
Brad Nolan videography in the house said Trubisky's still the truth. Back on the Buffalo Bills.
That's right. Let's go, man. That's where he was his most efficient outside of the Bears. Granted, it was just in the preseason, but that'd be a hell of a team to fall into if there was an injury. And it doesn't matter. He's still the man anyway. So Brad knows what's up. Chase Brown is going to produce and cut into Moss's ceiling. Very possible. Very possible.
King Caleb. Oh, gosh. Have you guys been following how much this guy seems like a drama queen? This is
seeing the light, sir. You're seeing the light.
Is this perfect for Chicago, though? Do you guys like this kind of stuff?
No.
Like, he seems like a total diva, but at the same time, I mean, if he's a good player, then it is what it is. He's saying don't buy into the smoke and mirrors. Is this all a front for Caleb just because he just likes he's flashy and he just thinks it's fun? He's just kind of goofing.
I don't know, man. I think that's just who he is, honestly. He could be a good dude, but there's a lot of good dudes in the league that are just goofballs, you know?
He's bored. Yeah, I could get that. He painted his fingernails and got emotional when he lost.
A lot of people would agree that's a red flag, man.
Such a horrible dude. Brad's trolling him.
Yeah, that's the thing is my biggest thing is, even aside from that, you have the anointment of the next whatever. You're hearing that most people are telling you that he's the next, and they don't believe it themselves. They heard it from someone else. It's been ingrained in your brain to repeat these cues, if you will, and just be wary because you buy in, and that's how you lose. There's nothing to lose by taking the skeptical side of things.
I guess I'll go ahead and draft him then.
James, yeah, I agree, James. Most people only know what they hear, for sure.
I don't know. I've
definitely seen the neighbors. Obviously, it's only speculation, but I've seen that touted as well.
You guys are going to sell out seats, that's for sure.
think there's too much on the table for Washington to not trade for him.
Wait, what?
They have too much to lose to not trade up for the number 1 pick. How else would you turn around a absolute sinking ship of a franchise with a new owner than to trade up and take the next blankety blank Hall of Fame quarterback?
Yeah, but I mean, you can get a damn good quarterback at number 2 this year. You got your pick of the litter. You just won't get Mr. Flashy Bang Bang. The Commanders don't really
Here's a
seem
wild,
like
here's a
that kind
wild,
of franchise.
low likelihood, Andy, but there's only about one team, pending any trades, that could pull this off. But, if the Bears trade it down, they're in a position with 2 first-round picks close enough together. They could get Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. And there's not many other teams that could say that.
Yeah, that would be sick. The Commanders do have the most cap space available now.
Caleb Rodman. Yeah. Not to mention that he's from there. And his college coach is with that team. I mean, there's just a lot of arrows pointing, which at the end of the day don't 100% guarantee anything, but it definitely leaves a little paper trail suggesting it could happen.
Well, we know you guys are drafting a quarterback. It's got to be Caleb.
A lot of people here like JJ. I get it that he's not profiled as the same type of quarterback, but if you're in a position where you could take him and a top receiver, there's people that'll do that. Ooh. Don't mind if I do.
What you got? You went Herbert, Goff. I like the quarterback picks. Jameson Williams. I like that Chris Godwin pick at 78.
If you think about his production after his wife reamed the coach out on social media and extrapolate over the whole season, I like where he could end up, probably higher than he did last year.
Gabe Davis is Gabe knows me too well now. Oh God. I'm sorry, man. I can't help it. I'm trying really
Between
hard.
picks, you should go put some cold water on your face, man.
Yeah, you're right, man. I should if I want to stay awake. What am I doing here? Oh, I got I go Cole Kmet because I drafted Caleb Williams.
It's impressive, the seasons that Kmet's had with Fields as his quarterback. If you had a pocket passer type quarterback, it's only the ceiling is so much higher with a increased pass volume. Gabe says go buy the ammonia snaps and sniff them between picks.
So if the Commanders, late 6 said the Commanders are going to try and sell the farm to get Caleb. Just depends on if the Bears agree. If they don't, then they draft Drake May at 2.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got both of them. So something's going to work out.
The word on the street, Andy.
Yes, sir.
This is only, again, pure rumor, but the rumor is that the agreement is in place. They're waiting for a physical. So we'll see.
What a like they need to
His physical, because he hasn't produced one yet.
Caleb?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, I think a lot of the guys are buying Bryce. Yeah, Gabe, Late Stick. I'm buying Bryce. Heck, I'll put my flag on a Bryce. I'm buying some Bryce. I'm also buying some Will Levis.
Yeah, and that, for people wondering, I don't necessarily think that that's a flag plant stance or indication that we think that he's going to have like an amazing season, but he doesn't have to. He just has to come out the gate swinging.
Yeah, he's just got a. What's his ADP? What's Bryce Young's ADP? It's probably dirt cheap. I know his Prism Silvers are
200, something like that.
but Will Levis is
about as low
bit
as you can
cheaper.
get without being a backup.
Levis is a little bit cheaper than Bryce in the hobby. Not by much. But I don't even think Bryce has been drafted yet. No. No, he hasn't. I bet you DBO 68's going for him right here. This is it. This
Josh
is the
Palmer,
round.
you snake.
Josh Palmer's a good pick at 145.
Yeah, in all the drafts I've had Herbert, I've been trying to get Palmer and Quentin Johnston, and people are reaching on Palmer, and they're taking him in the 130s, 140s, when his ADP was like 150 something. So that should tell you a little bit about what people think about him.
Jason said I'm hyped until the draft, and then I'm on Xanax or something. Now you guys didn't see me walk away and pop a Xanax and
Kendrick. Oh, Derek hurt my feelings.
Did he take what? Oh, he took Kendre Miller.
Problem is we draft so often together that I already have a feeling who's going if he's picking before me. All right,
It's just
I got one guy I wanted. I got one guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's yeah, I normally am like asleep by now. So it's but this one night a week I like to stay up but I mean, yeah, I'm getting tired these days. I go to bed like at 10. Shout out to Empower Men.
For those of you that haven't noticed, Andy is he's getting fit over there and dropped a bunch of weight and getting healthier. And,
yeah, which is as a result has made me more tired at night, going to bed earlier, sleeping
during
better.
The day, I would imagine your energy level is much more consistent and readily available. But when you're going through a weight loss process, you're definitely tanking later in the day.
At night I am for sure, because I mean I'm lifting pretty good 5 times a week during the week and getting my steps in and stuff. So at nighttime I'm tired. And I think if I was drinking alcohol, I haven't been drinking alcohol either.
It's good.
So that normally gives me like a you get like a second wind, just kind of stay up later. So I probably will grab a couple beers for the draft when we finally get to the draft. That'll be fun.
It's gonna be here in 4 or 5 weeks, something like that.
Really, that quick?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see.
I got Adam Thielen here.
It is the 25th of April.
25th of April. So you ain't kidding, man. That's only a month away.
Gotta love it.
Nice.
Did I see you take the Rust bus?
I auto drafted? No.
I don't know if I'm guessing you did.
No.
Oh wait, you took Roman Wilson. On my screen, it just said R. Wilson, and I was like, oh.
Oh. Yeah,
That makes way more sense.
He's a rookie prospect, man. Looks pretty decent from Michigan, but he's super fast. And he's got a pretty good size, so but he's 94th percentile speed, dude. 5'11", 185 from Michigan, and he lit it up, dude. He put up 12 tutties last year, almost 1,000 yards on Michigan's national championship team. So I think he's definitely a guy that I'll be keeping my eye on, if you know what I mean. I like speed and decent height, 5'11", 185. Get him on an NFL strength training, empowerment strength training program. put on some muscle. Yeah, beef him up to 200 pounds. See, if Gabe wanted Roman, then that's how you know you picked a good guy.
That's because he's hoarding rookies, bro. Look at his picks. He's hoarding.
Oh, this is the rookie roster for him. I noticed that. Yeah. Jaden, Trey Benson, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, Brock Bout. Dude, 75, 80% of his roster is all rookie prospects.
Hoarding them.
All I have is rookie quarterbacks. That's probably not a good thing, man. I probably need to draft an actual veteran QB here.
Now he's actually thinking about the other R. Wilson all of a sudden.
Is he still out there?
Yeah.
Interesting. Who's the guy? Yeah, Calvin Austin. The little speedster there in Pittsburgh.
I'll tell you what, I know it's a hot take and not everyone agrees, but from just a pure what if scenario, if the Vikings didn't take a QB, I would just for shits just say, what can Darnold win games with that elite receiving core? And I'm just to see what would happen. It's like having a Madden sim, but it's real.
I would be very interested to see that too, because you don't have to make a lot of decisions. You kind of go with your first or second read, right? Is either Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison's getting open,
right?
Where you're going to DJ Hawkinson.
You got a security blanket between Hawkinson and Aaron Jones. I mean, you really have a great situation there.
And that's always been Darnold's biggest weakness, if you ask me. Right. Watching him and stuff.
His teams have all been absolute trash.
He gets under pressure, and he has to like go through 2 or 3 reads to find an open guy. Ain't gonna happen. Darnold needs like,
especially when your open guys don't exist. You play for the Jets and Panthers.
Well, that's right. He didn't have too good of weapons on the Jets back when he was there. But I feel like he had decent, but he didn't have a dynamic duo or trio like he could potentially have this year on the Vikings.
Darnold's a bum.
Because Addison is really good.
I know you love him deep down, Gabe. I know you do.
James says, don't draft Russell Wilson. He won't complete the season.
Possibly. That's a legitimate speculation.
What QBs are out here? Bryce Young's out here. I did get Adam Thielen.
There you go.
Snipe you in the snipe.
There you go.
What I'm saying.
Take him, man. Take him. You better take him. Take him.
I got him. I got him start up.
I actually think
For
that
Price.
Thielen could have an even better year than last year now because they had to channel him so hard last year that teams just figured it out and they took him away. And you can't do that as easily once they have a little more depth to that team on offense. So if he's the number 2 look in the slot, he's a lot more productive.
Tyler Boyd. Actually, I'm going to take a flyer here on my guy, Trey Palmer in Tampa. I'll be happy when they come out with some more rookie cards for him too. I got a couple Panini Black. There's one Panini Black here, but it's practice uniform. Pretty cool looking cards, numbered out of 35. Panini Black's a decent set. It comes out pretty early in the year. It's really thick. It's like thick cardstock with like the foil finish, but they put some nice sparkle tones in it, I guess, if you will. All right.
The problem is with any card that has black edges, it makes any whiting seem that much more obvious. So they're hard grades, but if you're not grading it, it's fine because people that buy those are aware.
Yeah, there's a little edge blemish. It's really easy to pre-grade. It's you can see those issues off eBay, I imagine, pretty easily. Yeah, I wouldn't 10. I might send it into CGC still, but I got a lot of other cards that I think will 10 with them that I'm gonna send in.
So the 16-6 and 16-8 are 2 Bears running backs, and one or none are going to probably pan out, unfortunately, because there's just only so much you can run the ball, and not all 3 can eat. So, but it is an injury-prone position, and it is a team that likes to run. So, one of those guys could shake out, but I think Swift will probably be the biggest benefactor there. They didn't pay him to not use him, obviously.
Yeah, and I took Swift at 86. He went a whole 100 picks earlier than these guys. Kind of wild. I think that's probably egregious, wouldn't you say? Like, I feel like Roshan and Herbert should go a little sooner.
Yeah, the thing about Swift is if he can stay healthy, and seemingly last year was evidence that he can, he's got like top 10, like first round type upside, and you don't have to pay for a first round pick to get him. That's what they qualify as, like a league winner, when you can get a guy much later than his true value.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back on the
league
board.
winner.
Definitely not going to be a couple rounds left.
Antonio Gibson could be a league winner for you.
Running out of receivers, so I'm going to go with this one now. Sorry, Derek. Never leave a draft without Jatavion Sanders. Man, I know. That's your guy.
Yeah, Sanders was a beast from Texas. 6'4", 245. Only 21 years old. As a tight end the past 2 years, putting up like a 20% target share and putting up almost 700 receiving yards each year. That's really good.
The whole conversation about going back to the Russell Wilson thing is he's expendable. They don't owe him anything, really. All the money he's owed is from the Broncos. So they're into him for $1 million, which in the league is literally nothing. So if they decide to bench him, cut him, roll Fields out there, it doesn't mean anything to them because they didn't have almost any investment in the guy. Plus, you know that Fields is like a clubhouse guy. The teams gravitate towards him just like they did here. So at the end of the day, is he a good passer yet? Is he a good QB yet? Maybe not, but he's definitely better than anyone they've had in the past couple of years over there. So you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to really set him on the bench to rot while you start an aging quarterback that's, you've already seen the ceiling and he's on his way back down? Russ isn't he played serviceably last year. We're not taking anything away from him, but I think his decline was a little more noticeable than some of the other guys in his age bracket. Dameon Pierce. Pierce is a guy that I think can actually finally bounce back, even though they got Mixon.
The Houston Texans got new uniforms. I didn't know that. I mean, it doesn't look that much different than what.
Oh, those are pretty nice.
There's like a black and white with a red trim on the letter. Yeah. But the helmet still looks the same. I mean, it's not.
It's pretty cool. I like it. All right, we're at the end of 18. We got 2 rounds left. I don't know if you did any of the rookie and sophomores drafts yet, Andy. Those are 12 rounds, but the player pool is very tiny, and those go in like 7 minutes. I feel like you're really getting your $10 worth when you do these because you get a 20-round pool and the 20-round draft, and the prize pool is so large. So I like these, man. I'm hoping to do. If anyone's around on the weekend, I'd like to do some more of these.
Dude, these Falcons are pumped up about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is rolling with jersey number 18.
He is? I thought he was going to take 8.
Nope. It says he's rolling with number 18. Kyle Pitts is keeping his jersey. And then Kyle Pitts tweeted.
Target's still coming. You know why that's funny, right? Because he asked him what he wants for his jersey number, and he said just more targets. So now that he didn't give him the jersey number, I'm wondering if he actually throws to him. Obviously, I still think he will, but that's a pretty funny tweet.
I think Kyle Pitts gets peppered pretty good. Like there could be a case to put Kyle. Where did Pitts go? Like he's lagging behind Drake London for sure. But where's Pitts? Yeah, 61. Nah, it's too low. Kyle Pitts is undervalued. Hobby too, man. Still, because he's that goofy 2021 year. Right. James, I see this Neighbors has been viewed as wide receiver 1 for several teams since the season. Yeah, that's all old Daniel Jeremiah. Sometimes old Jeremiah, I think, gets it right. We'll see. We shall see.
Derek says, if Ayuk's getting traded, why are people not higher on Juwan Jennings? Good point. They should be. They brought him back for a good reason.
Yeah, Juwan Jennings, yeah. All right,
really nice showing in the playoffs, man. I'll be honest though, if anybody's going, it's gonna probably be Debo. Debo's obviously a great playmaker, but you have other guys that can do what Debo can do, but you don't have other guys that can do what Ayuk can do.
Frank Gore Jr.
I could see them rolling him onto the Niners late in the draft.
Wait, Deonta Foreman just signed with somebody.
Browns.
The Browns, that's right. I don't know. I'm just going to draft him. Oh, Hayden Hurst on the Chargers. That's interesting.
Yeah, they medically cleared him.
Medically cleared him. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember last year. It looked like his career was potentially over.
Yeah, he got hurt real bad. That's right. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but where'd he go? I think I'm gonna draft Joe Flacco. I got Hayden Hurst. Where was the 3-6-8-3 build?
Actually, in a couple drafts where I got like Pittman and one or two other guys from the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, I actually took Flacco as my third QB with the last pick. Why not? I mean, if he never sees the field even, it's not a wasted pick. And but on the contrary, if he plays, we saw him pretty much go hard in the paint last year.
Oh, shoot. Who went hard in the paint?
Flacco, man.
Oh, Flacco. Yeah. Yeah, he really did. He's got nothing to lose, man. You should draft him right here. Oh, he went Ronnie Rivers.
I already had my mind made up. I waited so long for my running back depth that I'm just spamming running back to finish.
I got you.
Plus, he matches up with my Herbert pick.
I got you. Whew.
You need some artificial tears, Andy. Keep your eyes lubricated.
Oh, they dry.
There's so many ways we could work some new sponsors into the show. You got to start reaching out, man. Send them these clips of you in the late hours of 11:06 Eastern time, and so you know what I could really go for right now? Some lubricated eyeballs.
That's
would totally go. It would totally go. The Ernest Johnson. Nice.
So try the new Visine. Do you have dry eyes?
Suffering from eye fatigue? We can help.
Do you suffer from eye fatigue?
Are you getting auto-picked every week? We can help. Help you stay alert with insert brand here.
All right.
Well, Andy, I think it's safe to say that I probably shouldn't even ask you to do another one at this point.
Yeah, I was fading at 10:30, and now I'm like fading to a whole nother level. Like I don't feel like I'm drunk or something. Like you guys like, spiked me with something.
Do another. Don't do that to him, man. If anybody wants to hop in, I know I'll do another one.
Y'all are gonna see me fall asleep on stream. It's first time for everything.
Jason says, "Let's go."
No, but seriously, appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. And Steve, thanks as always, man. It's a great stream.
Hell yeah.
See you guys tomorrow. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Get some rest and do some studying up for next week. We're gonna do some more draft, and maybe we'll start a little earlier, get a second one in, so Andy can still get some sleep, but hammer 2 drafts out.
There you go. All right, deal.
Plan on it.
I'll train for it. I'm gonna have to train for it, man. I have to train for it.
The Fatigue Olympics. Let's go.
All right.
All right, everyone. You have a good night. Peace.
See you.